Hello. So today we're going to be looking at sameEnds Array-2 Java for CodingBat.com. So as you can see, the code works. We hit all our test cases and actually have the code written right here. So if this is what you need, you can just pause it and copy it, or go to the comment description and copy and paste the code from my GitHub. So what I'm going to do is really just go over some of the code so that way you can understand it. But first things first, let me read the actual question. So return true if the group of n numbers at the start and end of the array are the same. And then we have an example here with the numbers 5, 6, 45, 99, 13, 5, and 6. And it says the ends are the same for n is equal to 0 and n is equal to 2, and false for n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 3. You may assume that n is in the range 0 to the length of the array inclusive. So first things first, before we actually get into the code, now that I think about it, maybe I should explain what's going on. So we're actually going to look at the example case here. We'll look at the one that is true. So in this case, we're looking for the range of numbers at the beginning and end of the array of 2. So what does that mean, right? We're looking at the last two numbers and the first two numbers. So an example would be that the number 5 would be at index 0, and then we'll be looking at the elements at the length of the array minus I believe minus 2 plus 0. So what does that mean exactly? I know that's kind of confusing, so that's why I have a notepad here, and we could actually look at another concrete example here. So say that this is our array here, 1, 2, 5, 2, 1, and these are our indices, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to say that n is equal to 2. So what that means is we're looking for the first two elements, and we're going to be comparing them with the last two elements in the array, and either return true or false. So if we look at the code now, just real quick, we're going to have a for loop that's going to iterate through the array 2 times. We only need to check 2 items in the list. If n was equal to 3, we would iterate through the array 3 times, and if n was equal to 4, it would be 4 times. Okay, so now let's look at the condition statement I wrote there. So what exactly does that mean? How is that working, right? So the first element we're going to be looking at is the beginning. So we're going to say index I, we'll just put index is equal to 0. We're going to be comparing this with, we're in the beginning index and end index right here. So the first things first, we're going to be comparing this 1 with the 2 right here. So where exactly is the 2 at in the array? It's at index 3. Okay, and then in the next iteration, we're going to be comparing the next beginning index number, which would be the number 2, and we can find that the first index, and then we'll be checking the last end index, which would be at the number 4. Okay, so the hard part is like wondering how do we get this 3 and how do we get the 4? How do we get these indexes? How do we get to them? So the most optimal way that I found was we use a little bit of mathematical function. So we're going to take the length of the array, and then we're going to take the length of the array, and then we're going to subtract n. Okay, and then we're just going to add I. Alright, so now what does that look like? It still doesn't really make sense, but it starts making sense when you actually start plugging in the numbers. So the length of the array is 5. There's 5 items in here. Okay, and we're going to subtract n, which is 2. This is the range of numbers that we're working with, right, from 0 to 2. I mean 1 to 2. Okay, and then we're going to be adding I. So if we're following along here, And what I'll do, I'll just copy and paste this up here. Okay. Here, maybe we'll change the index. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So this is the equation: length minus n plus index. So now we're going to be adding the beginning index here. So this would be 0. And when we do this function, we get the number 3, which is our ending index. I think this is just probably the most complicated part of the problem. There's other ways to do this too. There's a brute force method, but I think this one's the most optimal. And then we do the same thing on the next iteration. So this is iteration 1, right? And this would be our iteration 2. And then here we do the exact same thing. Let's plug in the numbers. We do 5 minus 2 plus beginning index. Our beginning index is now 1 on the second iteration. So we do that. And here we get the number 4, which is our end index. Okay. And then that's how. And then okay. So now let's look at the code now. So now we're comparing the right indexes. Okay, so let's look at the code right here. So now we know that this line of code right here is correct. You know, we're comparing the right indexes. And if at any point our numbers do not match, this is why we have that this Boolean operator right here. We're just gonna return false. All right. If we manage to get through this loop, that means they all match, and we just return true. And you can see, you know, it works as so. Okay. I think I'll just give you guys one more. I'll give you guys one more. What do you call it? Example. If you're good, you could just end the video here. But we're gonna be looking at. Let's see which one we're gonna be looking at here. We'll look at. We'll look at this one right here. So this one is going to return false. And this is our array that we're going to be working with. Make it nice and neat for you guys. And here we go. We got that. Doesn't look too good, but I'll do it last time. And yeah, it should fine. It should suffice, right? Okay. I'm gonna erase this right here. All right. So here n is equal to 3. So do this on the side right here. 3. Okay. So that means we're gonna be looking at the first 3 elements and then the last 3 elements. So again, the way the algorithm pretty much goes is we're going to be in a for loop here, right? We're going to be in a for loop here. This for loop is going to keep on going until how many iterations? It's going to go for 3 iterations. So this loop is going to keep going until n is not equal to 3. Okay, so we're going to have 3 iterations. Okay. So on the first iteration, we're going to be comparing. This is going to be our condition right here. We're just going to hit it right away. Condition is going to be. So I'm writing this in like kind of pseudo code just so you guys can understand it. So the condition is index is beginning index not equal to end index. Okay, so this would be our condition here. All right, so now we're gonna check it. Okay, so the way we get end index and beginning index is as so. Remember the formula that we have. So beginning index. Beginning index is going to be equal to I'll do it like this: beginning index. No, we'll do array beginning index, and we'll start to make some variables here. So we're going to do beginning index is equal to 0. Okay, next, I think that's all we need. Okay, and then somewhere in here we'll increment it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna check this condition here. Okay, so now how do we get end index? That's the hard one. And the way we get that is by sorry, I wasn't planning on doing this for you guys, but okay, so now the way we get this ending index is by checking the length of the array minus n plus beginning index. So okay, so then what does that look like, right? So this basically looks like this. Once we do the math, once the computer does the math, it's gonna end up looking like the following. So we got the length of the array, which is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna subtract 3, so now we're at 4, and then we're gonna add 0, so we're at index 4. Correct? Did I do that right? Let me see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the length is 7. And we're going to subtract 3, which gives us 4. Yeah. So we would be comparing 0 with index 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which should be the number 13 here. So I know it doesn't look too good. Well, here you go. Okay. All right, so then what does that look like, right? So index 0 is 5, and we're comparing index 4, which is the number 13. So then we see that 5 is not equal to the number 13, and then we just return false. And that's pretty much the algorithm here. If you're confused, just go through it by yourself with your hand and do some of the test conditions, and you should be fine. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment description, and I'll be sure to help you out.